All right, hello, welcome back to the NFL edition of Unqualified Analysis, the Week 17 version. Boy, oh boy, are things about to be exciting for Week 18 for your boy. Whew. We'll talk about that there and much, much more here in just a second. But yeah, we had ourselves a week of not college football, NFL football. College football really didn't factor into the equation because, again, bowl season has become a joke. But yeah, it was good to see ESPN sticking to the brand. BYU not getting a single highlight in that bowl game, and the first highlight you see from it is, I believe, Travis Hunter scoring a touchdown to make it a 27-7 ball game. Harkens back to Chris Paul hits a big three to cut the lead to 40 or something like that. Those sorts of vibes. ESPN is a joke now. SportsCenter is a joke. It's been a joke for quite some time, but that's just, for whatever reason over the last couple of weeks, I've come to fully realize just how much of a joke ESPN is now. And I'm not talking about you, Scott Van Pelt. Hell, I'm not even really talking about Pat McAfee. It's all the people that have been hired after the trend of Pat McAfee, let's just say. Pat McAfee's a good feature of the network. I wouldn't necessarily want that to be the whole ethos of what's supposed to be sports news. They've kind of gone the way of Fox News at that point. But I digress on that front. Either way, you can follow me on the socials at CalebVUA. That's down right in the bottom right-hand corner there. You can also find it down in the description. You can also find the email unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com, which, low-key, now we're in the circle of trust here, all right? May be locked out of the email right now on my phone. I believe it's still logged in on the laptop though, so we're good. We're good on that front. So probably just go to the DMs right now. I'll get that back on the phone here in a bit, but might be a minute. Might be a minute. Your boy's busy. Other things to worry about. Anywho. Outside of that, I think we're good to go here. Like, subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. Share with all the friends that you have on this face of Earth. Weird way to say that, but maybe some players on Mars as well. I don't know why they're players, but I don't know. Who's to say? If you know some Martian colonists out there, or you know some aliens that you've been communicating with and giving inside information, you're a spy for the aliens, if you will. Shoot them a link to the podcast. It might take them a little bit for them to get it out there. I'm not sure what the download speeds are out that way, but hey, get it to them. Just get it to them and see what happens. Anyway. Let's just get into week 17. I'm just kind of stumbling over my words here. Let me just get myself a quick swig of this here. And we'll get the show on the road, shall we? All right, so tilt that back up. Okay. Thursday night, we're just going to hit on this one very briefly. I have a sickness. I can't, if it's a night game, if it's in a night slot, I can't take my eyes off it, no matter how disgusting it is. And this one, I needed the sleep. I should have gone to bed. I really, really should have. And you know what I did? I stayed up for the entire Seahawks-Bears game, and I watched it to the last second because I have a sickness. Don't be like me, okay? Go to bed. Get sleep when just an abomination of the game we love is on your TV. Go to bed. Go to bed. Don't be like me, folks, but I did stay up and watch this whole thing, unfortunately. And, the Seahawks won 6-3. They're 9-7 now. I believe the Rams either clinched a playoff spot or clinched the division this last week. I believe they clinched the division, actually. I could be wrong on that. But, hey, good stuff there. Good stuff there. I mean, the Seahawks, hey, 9-7. Not 9-7. Could be a whole lot worse. Really unsure what their playoff stuff is. I guess they boosted the playoff hopes, but that was a headline from Thursday, so I don't really fucking know. Either way, I did not hit my bet on this game, as we alluded to in the previous episode. The Seahawks simply didn't score enough points, which is frustrating. I'm just never going to bet on the Seahawks again this year. Won't really matter after next week, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, the Bears stink. What else is there to say? The Seahawks really aren't that much better. They're just a better coached football team, which is kind of a default, really. I mean, I'm not sure there's a worse coaching staff than the Bears have right now in the whole of the league. I mean, I mean, the Raiders got something to say about that. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they're right down there with those teams, though. It's a stinky, stinky coaching staff. Maybe even worse than those staffs because of, I mean, the roster is not bad. It really isn't. You have good receivers. You have a good defense. The problem is the offensive line can't perform with a damn. The offense stinks. It's not the offense that you were expecting it to be with Shane Waldron because he's not there anymore since Thomas Brown came down out of the booth to be the interim head coach. The offense has not been any better since then. So, yeah, just a tough spot for the Bears right now. But I've already talked about this game too long. The sooner the Bears can get off my TV, the better. That's all I got to say about that. 4-12. Just worse than I could have ever imagined for the Bears this year. And I'm a noted Bears hater. That's just disgusting display of football. Disgusting display of football from the Bears all season, really. And they haven't won a game since October, so... Oof da boy. Anyways, we'll move on to the Saturday games. The Chargers ran the Patriots off the football field 40-7. Justin Herbert, 281, 3 touchdowns. The Patriots right now, as it stands, are in the number 1 overall pick catbird seat, if you will. They will clinch that with a loss next week. And at that point, you got some good options there. I mean, especially if the Giants end up at number 2, you could really... convince them that there's not really much of an argument to make. I mean, they got Drake May. No one's going to think they're taking a quarterback up there at 1. But if someone wanted to jump ahead of the Giants, perhaps, I could very much see the Patriots moving down to 3, 4. Though at the same time, you love to make sure you're in a position to have Travis Hunter. You want to make sure it's 2. If you move down to 3, you want to make sure there's 2 teams ahead of you that are looking for a quarterback there in the top 3. Because I think the Patriots really need a guy like Travis Hunter because they basically need everything. What does Travis Hunter do? Oh, what's that? Everything. Everything in under the sun. He can be a receiver for you. He can be a corner for you. He's not going to play full time like he did in college because he's going to break in half if he tries to do that. But my guess is he spends most of his time on the defensive side of the ball, which is where he's probably most needed. And then he has a package on offense that'll probably get him anywhere from, 300 to 500 yards a year. Probably. And that would be better than just about anyone else in the history of the league has done so far. So I think you'd be happy with that. And that's a guy that's a very big impact player if you can get him. So if the Patriots get the number 1 overall pick, that's a good spot to be in. Will Gerard Mayo be the coach of that prospective number 1 overall pick? Remains to be seen. The vibes aren't great over that way, but hey, as far as a draft position is concerned, they could be a lot worse. They could be a whole lot worse, and there's no guarantees that they won't get that bad at some point. Anyways, we'll move on to the next one here. The 4 o'clock slot for the Saturday game. Banger. Bengals beat the Broncos 30-24 in overtime. Bengals were trotting out a backup kicker. I forget his name. Patterson, I believe. Riley Patterson. Maybe Riley Patterson was on the Falcons. I don't know. A lot of backup kickers in the league right now. Bengals have one of them. Tried to kick their way out of this game, and Joe Burrow simply did not let them do it. He ends up going 39 of 49, 412 yards, 3 touchdowns. T. Higgins has a monster game, catches all 3 touchdowns from Joe Burrow, 131 yards on 11 receptions, and the Bengals get the win 30-24. They keep their playoff hopes alive. They still need a little bit of help in order to get them into the playoffs, but if they take care of business next week, they will have done everything that they could possibly do from where they started in order to possibly make the playoffs. And if they make the playoffs, do I take them seriously? No, but that's a fun team to make the playoffs. I bet you they probably lose in the first round, especially if you got to go play like the Bills or someone like that. I'll tell you what, though, I'm probably betting the over on that game. It's going to be fun. It feels like Joe Burrow is the type of guy that he is at the highest level he's ever been in the regular season right now. Let's not get it twisted. But it feels like even now, in the postseason, it's going to tick up a level because that's just who Joe Burrow is. He's an assassin. He's an absolute psychopath. That's just the type of guy that he is when it comes to playing football and playing the quarterback position. So a team that would scare me, but ultimately a team that I wouldn't really take seriously after the first round would be a hell of a story, though. Joe Burrow, probably should be fourth in line for the MVP right now, just based on the record. Obviously, if we're playing in fantasy land here, if his team was like 12-4 at this point instead of 8-8, probably right up there with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. But the crazy part is this season, Allen and Jackson are playing so well that he'd just kind of be on par with those guys. Would have a great argument to win over those guys, but we've had a couple crazy quarterback seasons this year, and that's not even to mention Saquon Barkley went over 2,000 yards this week, which to me is important to do in 16 games. If he gets Eric Dickerson's record in week 17, ultimately I'm not counting it. I mean, Dickerson did it in 16 games. Doing it in 17, it doesn't count in my mind. If you want the real records, you do it in 16, as far as I'm concerned. That's why I respect the TJ Watt sack numbers, all that sort of stuff, because a lot of times he did it in 16 games or less, by the way, and he was a monster that entire time. You can kind of better measure it on par with previous seasons that way. I just don't love the 17th game and that effect on the stats. Would love to have a 17 game era versus a 16 game era separation, but I digress on that front. Either way, Bengals are in good position. Broncos, I think if they win next week, they're still in the playoffs. And who do they got? That's the real question. Who do they got this upcoming week? They got the Chiefs, so good luck. Good luck. This is all kind of shaking out pretty favorably for the Bengals, come to think of it. Let me just, real quick, out of curiosity, take a look at what they've got on the schedule coming up here next week. So they play the Steelers, so it's not exactly a cakewalk in their own right there. That's going to be a huge game as well. Am I seeing Sunday night for the Steelers, or is that Saturday night? No, it's Saturday night because I got a coworker going to that game. So yeah, that one's Saturday night at 8 p.m. Banger, good spot for that. Steelers really need to win, even though they've already clinched a playoff spot. Bengals obviously have to win to survive. So, excuse me, that's going to be a fun game. That should be a fun game. Could be a real AFC North game. But the way the Bengals are playing, the way the Steelers' defense is playing, I would expect it to not exactly be the vintage NFC North that you are used to in that matchup. Anyways, let's keep it moving from there. Let's just keep it pumping. Rams beat the Cardinals 13-9 to clinch the division, I believe. NFC South. What is going on? Sorry, I keep getting messages. Had to check that out here real quick. But yeah, Rams get the win 13-9 over the Cardinals. Cardinals have been eliminated already. They didn't really have a shot anyways. Kind of a disappointing down the stretch where we're back to where we always seem to get to. Kyler Murray, is he the answer? Starting to really think no. Was kind of either here or there on him entering the season. Thought he had a lot of upside, but I mean, this is just a pattern at this point. He's, 5-6 years in the league? He's well into his second contract, and he's still showing you the same flashes and the same maddening mistakes and lack of discipline that you've seen from his entire career. At this point, I don't expect that to change. I really don't. But Rams do get the win, 13-9. They're a dangerous team going into the playoffs, man. It feels like they get even healthier every single week. They're getting healthy at the right time, especially with that offensive line. Not a big offensive performance in this game, but they still have a running back in Kyron Williams that can get you a couple yards when you need him to. Is dynamic in spurts, just, rough interior offensive line play for him. He's had a hard time getting free a lot of times. But then you got Puka Nacua playing out of his mind on the outside. Another 10 receptions, 129 yards in this game. Cooper Kupp isn't quite what he once was, but is still a really, really good receiver. Tyler Higbee is coming back off of injury. They're getting healthy at the right time, and the defense feels like they just get better every week. They just dominated the Cardinals in this game, gave the Rams enough room to end up winning. Hey, Rams are a sneaky team, man. If you told me we're getting to the end of January and the Rams are in the NFC title game, would be a little shocked. I can't lie to you, but I can't say I would be totally surprised because this team hey, they're dangerous. They're dangerous right now. The NFC should be a fun playoff picture. Hopefully we don't get a whole lot of blowouts. We get a lot of good games. It feels like there's a lot of solid teams in the NFC this year that are going to kind of be competitive in the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to that. And especially when you got Matt Stafford. I mean, I've never been super high on Matt Stafford, but he's been solid. All throughout the course of his career, he's been solid, and he's been really good in the clutch. And what's more clutch than the playoffs? Absolutely nothing. Already got a Super Bowl under his belt. Rams are a dangerous team. I'm not breaking any news here. I think everyone's kind of got them on their radar, but they should be on yours if they are not already. Okay, let's move on to the Sunday games here. We'll just breeze through a couple here. The Bills beat the Jets 40-14. After the Chiefs win over the what is it? The Steelers on Wednesday, just absolutely shellacking them. Bills are pretty much locked into that 2 seed. With the win, pretty much seals it. They're locked into the 2 seed. There's not really much reason for them to play their players next week, from what I understand. So they get the win 40-14. The Jets stink. I mean, you've got Sauce Gardner clapping back at fans, except for not even really clapping back at fans. Sauce Gardner just put out a post saying, hey, pay T. Higgins. And then in the Instagram comments, someone said, hey, tell him to come to the New York Jets. And Sauce Gardner follows up that with, I will not be telling him to do that. Vibes are bad in New York right now. Does not matter the team. Really does not matter the sport outside of basketball. For whatever reason, in this reverse upside down Twilight Zone world we're in, the Knicks are actually the best vibes in the whole city outside of the baseball teams. If you're talking baseball or basketball right now, could be worse. Every other sport, dire straits, not good. I mean, really just especially football, dire straits right now. Tough time to be a New York fan. Hey, the Saints are so bad, the Raiders beat them 25-10. Aiden O'Connell looked downright serviceable in this game. 242, 2 touchdowns. Brock Bowers had another 7 receptions, 77 yards, straight 7s. The dude is just lucky. And I'm going to keep patting myself on the back here. If no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it for myself here. I do recall myself saying that I don't, and I've probably said this in back-to-back weeks at this point. I just have to keep bringing it up because I'm vain like that. I do remember saying that no matter where he's drafted, Brock Bowers is the best football player in the 2024 draft, and lo and behold, he's set the single season record for a rookie with receptions. I don't remember the exact number. If I were a better host, I would be locked in on that, but I'm not. He's a monster, and with terrible QB play, he has been a monster all season. If they get like Shedeur Sanders, oh boy. They keep playing themselves out of that spot to get Shedeur Sanders, mind you. But if they get Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, really either of those two, and you pair him with Brock Bowers, I mean, even Jacoby Myers for that matter. Jacoby Myers made some plays, and he's still a really solid receiver. Hey, the offense could be cooking as soon as next year. Now, Antonio Pierce has got to get his shit together on defense. But offensively, hey, we might be cooking here going forward if we can get the right pieces in place. So, something to watch there. But Brock Bowers already, and I'll stand on it. I mean, I pussyfooted around it early, but there's no pussyfooting around it anymore. Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the league, and he is a rookie. Very first year in the league. He's setting himself up to have an all-time great career, and I'm looking forward to watching it. Please, God, don't ruin him, Raiders. Please, God. It's going to be hard to fuck this one up, but I don't put it past the Raiders on any of this sort of stuff. Saints, bad. All I got to say is bad. You know what you need to do. There's tough times a-coming. Lean into the suck. It would behoove you to make 2025 as miserable as possible so that 2026 can look a little bit brighter. That's all I got to say about that. The Colts are bad. The Giants beat them 45-33. All of a sudden, Jeezy rapping Drew Lock. I mean, I gotta look at the stat line here. I mean, the first half he went out of his mind. Overall, he ends up 17-23, 309, 13.4 yards per attempt. Every time he's throwing the ball, he's getting 13.5 yards. Insane stuff. 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and why not? Add a rushing touchdown in there as well. My guy had a career day for the New York Giants. And people are asking right now, is Drew Lock the QB of the future in New York? I think you really have to consider such things after a performance like this. The Giants are terrible though. Let's not get it twisted. They're pretty much locked into the number 2 pick right now. You know, unless the Patriots pull one out next week. They're right there at number 2, though. They're tied record-wise at 3-13. The Colts just, man. Whew. I mean, you want to talk about a change in opinion from where I was last year. I thought Shane Steichen did a fantastic job last season with what he was given. Almost brought the team to the playoffs. Came one game short of the playoffs. This year, it's been awful. Just bad. The Colts, even when wins, have never felt like a good team. They never felt like a team that you look at and like, damn, this team is playing really, really well. It was always clunky all year. And honestly, I don't know if it's necessarily Shane Steichen's fault. I don't think Shane Steichen has acquitted himself very well this year, but it's not all Shane Steichen's fault. It's Chris Ballard once again coming up with a dud of a draft, a dud of a free agency period. He should have been fired probably a couple years ago at this point, and has somehow found a way to just stick around. I mean, Jim Irsay, he is a crazy, crazy guy, and it's a blessing and a curse. He seems to be very patient with the GM hires at the very least. The coaches, he's a little bit of a loose cannon on, but for the GMs, especially with Chris Ballard, I mean, really going back to Ryan Grigson, probably kept Bill Polian around too long. He's been very loyal to the GMs, which is a good way to build a team if the GM is doing the job well. And flat out, over the last 3 years, I've been very critical of Chris Ballard. I honestly thought he had a solid draft coming out of the draft this year, but it hasn't turned out that way. And free agency-wise, he's never been able to bring in solid free agents on a consistent basis. He's always had trouble doing that. Obviously, Indianapolis is a tough selling point for a high-level position player, but you have money to spend. If you just throw a little bit of it around, I mean, no one really wants to go to the Panthers either, but David Tepper knows he's going to have to pay a premium to bring guys in, so he brought in a bunch of guys this year. Jim Irsay and Chris Ballard should have been doing that, but they didn't, and now you reap what you sow. Another year without the playoffs, and doesn't look like the team is moving in the right direction. It looks like he drafted the wrong quarterback in Anthony Richardson. I mean, you can give him another year, but even a incremental improvement from where Anthony Richardson is at right now is not a starting quarterback in the NFL as far as a passer is concerned. He's not. You can't win with a guy who's throwing right around the Mendoza line for completion percentage, right hovering around like 51%. He's throwing the football like he's a quarterback in the 1940s pretty much. It's all deep balls, really low completion percentage, and he's not even really been completing the deep balls here recently. He's just been throwing terrible. The defense is a disaster. The offensive line is getting older. You basically squandered what you had in the offensive line just over the course of the last couple of years with lousy drafts. Bad luck injury-wise. I mean, no way around it. You know, guys leaving in free agency. Obviously, injury-wise, talking about Shaq Leonard being all-pro and then has a nerve problem in his back and then is out of the league pretty much. It happens that fast sometimes, but it doesn't give you an excuse not to backfill the way that Chris Ballard has not backfilled, and it's the check has come due, Jim Irsay. It's an untenable position. Chris Ballard has got to go somewhere and learn a little bit more about the personnel side. He's got some stuff to improve on, is what I'm trying to say. He should not be the GM of the Indianapolis Colts going forward. That's one I've kind of pussyfooted around as well. I mean, it's a lot of competitive pressure. It's real pressure at that position, and I've applied it myself. But we've crossed the point of no return. He's just got to go. He's got to go. It is what it is. Okie dokie. So with that said, Eagles beat the Cowboys 41-17 or 7 even though they had Kenny Pickett starting. Saquon Barkley, they just said, we're going to ride you like a prize stallion, son. 31 carries, 167 yards. He tore it up this past weekend. Went over 2,000 yards, as I said. What's his season total at? How short is he? Well, I don't even think he's going to get to Eric Dickerson's record. He's going to have a monster game in the last. Well, Is it 2,078 yards? I got to look that up real quick. I apologize. I'm all over the place. Nickerson rushing record. Okay. What is it? What is the all-time rushing? Yeah, it's 2105. He's only 100 yards away. If he has a big game in the final week of the season against, drawing a blank here. Okie doke. Giants. I mean, they could blow the Giants out of the water. They're still possibly playing for a 1 seed. Well, no, they're not. they're not playing for a 1 seed. I forgot because the Vikings won, so they're not playing for much right now. So they'll probably be record chasing. We'll just say that they'll probably be record chasing in that one. But yeah. Saquon Barkley got a big game. Eagles are 13-3. They're a team that horrifies me. But if the Vikings take care of business against the Lions, won't have to worry about playing at their place, which is that would be a huge weight off my shoulders. We'll just say that much. Cowboys, you tried. You certainly tried. I don't know where they go from here. I really don't. Mike McCarthy's done a good job. Yeah, a lot of holes in the roster. You get DeMarvion Overshown back in there as fast as possible, I suppose. Buccaneers, I mean, unexpectedly blew the Panthers out of the water. This is the thing. You never know what you're getting on a week-to-week basis from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield went out of his mind, 27-32, 359 yards, 5 touchdown passes. That puts his season total at 39. He can get to 40 next week. Which would just be insane from where he came from to start his career. 15 interceptions, which is hilarious. That is pretty hilarious. But hey, 39 touchdown passes. Take a bow, Baker Mayfield. You had yourself one hell of a year. Bucky Irving had like 180 total yards from scrimmage in this game. Didn't score a touchdown somehow, but he went absolutely fucking wild. Who else? Mike Evans, I believe, had 2 touchdowns in this game. Yeah, he went 2 touchdowns, 8 receptions, 97 yards. Hall of Famer. What more is there to say? Jalen McMillan, welcome to the league, buddy. 2 touchdowns, 51 yards. Payne Durham, fun name for a tight end, gets a touchdown as well. Everyone was running wild, man. I mean, they had 551 yards of offense. Just insane production. They had 5.1 yards per carry on the ground, 202 yards. Just everyone who was touching the ball was having success. Outside of Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield, no one was rushing for below 4.9 yards per carry. Everyone was eating on the ground for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you get this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team in the playoffs, by golly, I'll tell you what. I mean, that could be a spicy, spicy meatball right there, my brother. But you just don't know what you're getting on a week-to-week basis. Panthers, I mean, hey, on the bright side, Bryce Young, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 7.3 yards per attempt. Did not turn the ball over. So still positive momentum. Your team just still stinks. There's not really much of a way around that. Your team just unfortunately stinks. Hey, just keep building on what you're building on. You got a good base, right? I mean, you got a base to work off of right now. We'll just put it that way. The Jaguars beat the Titans 20-13 in a game that truly only had draft implications. The Titans join a group of the worst teams in the league. There are 4 teams right now with a 3-13 records after the Browns lost to the Dolphins. I don't know what. There's a lot of stinky dog shit teams, but I guess that happens when you got a lot of really, really fucking good teams to go along with that. The top 10 is abysmal this year. Everyone stinks to high heavens, I say. There's so many terrible football teams. But yeah, there 2 of them played in this game. Jaguars beat the Titans 20-13 in the Suck Bowl. Brian Thomas had a good game with 91 yards and a touchdown. Who cares? Dolphins beat the Browns 20-3. Tyler Huntley started this game 22 of 26, 225, 1 touchdown. Also had 52 yards on the ground and a touchdown, which just kind of shows you how bad the Browns are. Do I know why Tua was out? Not at all. Do I care? Not really, because the Dolphins aren't very good. 8-8 though after where they started. Not terrible. Not terrible. This team was 3-6 at one point, maybe even 2-6. Come to think of it. So hey, hot end to the season. Hot end to the season. That deserves some credit. But yeah, just not a playoff team. So we'll just keep moving from there. Even if they did somehow make the playoffs, which I believe they're mathematically eliminated at this point. But even if they did make the playoffs, they're going to get worked in the first round. So yeah, just get off my screen here. Oh yes, baby. Let's talk about the Packers going on the road to the Vikings. And I'll tell you what, for about 3 quarters, I was feeling nicey like John Gruden. I'll tell you what, we had a 27-10 lead going into the 4th. I was feeling good. I mean, Will the Thrill Riker did have himself a rough game. He missed one early, ended up missing one in the 4th quarter. But hey, it is what it is. Just get me to the finish line. All of a sudden, the Packers come roaring back in the 4th quarter. I'm dejected. I'm depressed. I'm looking at the gun fondly over there in the corner. Not serious, YouTube. Don't take me down about that. But we were in a rough spot, folks. We were in a rough spot watching the end of this game. The Packers went on a run. Jordan Love started making Jordan Love plays, and boy, you could not fit a cactus needle in my asshole with a jackhammer with the way that end of that game was going. But ultimately, the Vikings hold on. They get just enough to win the game. A goose egg in the 4th quarter. Scored all of their 27 points in the middle 2 quarters. They get to win 27-25. They're at 14-2, and with the Vikings win, we have set ourselves up for a heavyweight matchup for the ages to end off Week 18, regardless of what happens on Monday night as I'm recording, with the Detroit Lions. With the Vikings win here, that game next Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. on NBC and probably streaming on Peacock as well, the Vikings and the Lions will play for the 1 seed. It does not get any better than this, folks. I am equal measures horrified, nervous, and fucking pumped for this game. As far as a regular season game goes, I don't know if I've been this excited for a regular season game in my entire life, which is incredibly dangerous. Don't let you. I can't let you think for a second here. There, I found the words that I was looking for. I can't let you think for a second that I don't realize that this is a dangerous position for me to be in. Hope is a dangerous thing. I'll tell you that right this second, but boy, oh boy, I can't help but be just giddy with excitement, like a kid on Christmas night, Christmas Eve, just waiting for the presents in the morning. I'm watching the Santa tracker like a fucking hawk for this game to drop off at my doorstep on Sunday night. Boy, oh boy, that's going to be an absolute banger. Banger, I say. The type of banger that you do not usually get in the regular season. The stakes do not get a whole lot higher than what we have here next Sunday night. And I'll just use this as a quick preview right now because it deserves its own segment. It deserves the pub that I'm giving it. 2 of the best teams in the NFC. At the very worst, 2 of the top 3 teams in the NFC. Probably the top 2, I would say, or at least I don't even know where you would put the Lions. At the very least, I would put the Vikings 1 or 2 in the NFC right now. The Lions are still at the very worst number 3. I'd still probably put them right there at number 1 or number 2. There's not a whole lot of separation between those 3 teams, and it's not often in the last week of the season you got these types of teams playing for real stakes. Tangible, real stakes. The winner of this game gets home field advantage, a bye to start the playoffs. Everyone has to come to their house. They do not have to travel until, God willing, they make the Super Bowl. The loser of this game will have to go on the road, most likely, for every single playoff game that they play in this upcoming postseason. The stakes could not be any higher because I don't know about the Lions. I would assume they feel fairly similarly to us. I ain't trying to go into the link in January, man. Not a winning proposition. Never has been, never will be. Especially not for my team. I need the Vikings to pull this one out on Sunday. I'm placing an unhealthy and ill-advised amount of my emotional health and stability on this game on Sunday night. It's gonna be a classic. It's gonna be a classic. I cannot pick it objectively. I think the Vikings are gonna pull it out. But just remember, I cannot pick the game objectively. That being said, as far as an objective analysis goes, the it sounds like a cliche, and it's like I've said it like every time at this point. Ultimately, I feel like the number one place where I could see the game being won here is going to be the Lions running game versus the Vikings run game. That's unstoppable force and movable object right there. The Vikings have had one of, if not the best rushing defense in the entire league all season. And the Lions have just been killing teams on the ground all season. They have an unstoppable running game pretty much. The passing game does worry me. Let's not get it twisted. I do think this will ultimately be a shootout a little bit. I think both offenses have an advantage. Obviously, the Vikings without bereft due to injuries that the Lions are right now. I think they have a huge advantage. Obviously, I think KOC is going to scheme up some points there for sure. But even the Lions going up against the Vikings defense. The run defense is really solid, but you saw them get big plays off of it in the last meeting. And the pass defense it gives up a ton of yards. A ton of yards. And Jared Goff has been fantastic. Ben Johnson's been fantastic all year drawing up plays. The receiving core has been really, really good. I feel like the Lions are going to score points, and the Vikings are going to have to score points in order to win this game. I just think that they do it, honestly. And again, I cannot pick this game objectively. I truly cannot. I'm going to ride with my team until I die. It's about as much of a toss-up as it gets in the league, though, folks. We just got to sit down and enjoy this one. Block out some time. Don't worry about work in the morning. You stay up as long as this game takes, because it's going to be a stone-cold classic. And I hope I'm not overselling it too much, but we'll keep it moving from there. Last game we're going to hit on here before I get you over to look at some games, look at some limes here. Limes. We're not looking at limes here. I left the produce department a long time ago. We're looking at lines, Lines, lines. But Falcons go on the road to the Commanders, and I'll tell you what, it looked good for 2 quarters there. But ultimately, Jaden Daniels is just that dude. He goes 24 of 36, 277, 3 touchdowns. Ultimately sends them to overtime. I mean, is the reason that they win this game. Also, by the way, 127 yards on the ground. He was unstoppable in this game. Really, it's hard not to compare him to Lamar Jackson. He's not quite as shifty as Lamar Jackson, but he's every bit as fast as Lamar Jackson is in a straight line, and that just destroys defenses. And he's still pretty quick, too. Let's not get it twisted. He's just... No one is Lamar Jackson. Literally no one in the league is Lamar Jackson. And that's no slight to Jaden Daniels. I'll tell you what, Jaden Daniels is a more polished passer as a rookie than Lamar Jackson was, though. Flat out, that's just the way it is. He's a special player, and lucky to see him come into the league. I wish Caleb Williams had a better situation to go into. Not that players-wise, Jaden Daniels was stepping into much better. I think his offensive line actually looked a whole lot worse coming into the season. Receiving core, too, for that matter. Just ultimately, Commanders had a much better coaching staff, and that makes a huge difference, especially when you're talking about Caleb Williams in this whole thing. But I digress on that front. Falcons, they fall to 8-8. Roller coaster couple of weeks. They no longer control their destiny once again. The Buccaneers now, if they win in week 18, will win the NFC South because the Falcons stumbled at the last minute there. So yeah, the NFC now and NFC South. That's right. The NFC South characteristically terrible once again. Well, yeah, I'm comfortable saying that. Bad division. The Buccaneers look like on any given week a top 5 team in the league or a bottom 10 team. But outside of that, there's no one else that has those sorts of peaks. Just one day the NFC South will be a good division. I just don't see when that day will be. Okay, so with all of that said, all of that all together, yes, I'm holding my vape in my hands because, I suck on it like a baby sucks on a binky. It's a real problem, but I'll probably quit this year, I had to say. Anyways, let's look at next week's games here. Looking forward to week 18. So, on the Saturday game, we have got a real stinky dog shit game here on the first 4:30 slot in the Saturday game. Browns are at the Ravens. Ravens favored by 18. And one more time, that's all I got to say about that. Terrible. terrible, terrible stuff. I guess lean the Ravens because the Browns are awful. But yeah, I'm not betting on this game for sure. Outside of that, Bengals are going to the Steelers. Already talked about this one a little bit. This one's going to be a banger. Over-under's 48.5, and I'm probably taking the over in this one. I believe Joe Burrow leads the league in passing touchdowns with 42 to his 8 interceptions. Looney Tunes numbers, man. Just Looney Tunes numbers. That does not account for Lamar Jackson having more total touchdowns, I believe, but I digress. I digress on that front. There, like I said, a lot of great players at the top of the league this year. We are lucky to be where we're at right now. But yeah, I expect this to be a little bit of a high-scoring affair. It always is a high-scoring affair when the Bengals' defense is involved. So yeah, I would bet the over in this game. That's probably my biggest lean. I've not put out any picks today, I don't think. Just don't feel like depositing the money in my account. This has been a very expensive season. It's been a very bad gambling season, and I don't like just draining money into the accounts here. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it. So we might chill out in the picks here for a little bit. But that being said, if I had to lean somewhere, hey, Hungry Dogs, man, Bengals -1.5. That would be the lean right there. They need a win, and they won't know what position they're in as far as playoffs are concerned until they get this win, or really until Sunday when the Chiefs play the Broncos, which Broncos could still win that game. Chiefs are going to rest their starters in that game, so probably could still win if I had to say. That being said, yeah, first step is here. And I think the Bengals ultimately keep the Steelers on that skid. They get the win, and they cover that -1.5. So there you go. Panthers are at the Falcons. Panthers are an 8.5-point dog. I'm big lean to the Panthers. I like the Panthers, man. I really, really do. Over-under's 47.5. I kind of lean the over on that. But the Falcons' defense has been playing better. I think I might stay away. Obviously, this coming off them giving up 30 to the Commanders. But the Commanders, I mean, they got one of those dudes at quarterback. So no shame in that. No shame in that game whatsoever. Commanders are at the Cowboys. Commies favored by 3.5. Don't know what the situation is as far as the starters, but I'd obviously lean that 3.5 with the Commies here on this one. Kind of lean to the over at the 44.5 too. Commies defense still is not great. Still not a great unit over there. Bears are at the Packers. Packers are a -8.5-point favorite. I don't believe the Packers have much to play for in this game. This is a spot where they could rest the starters. They aren't in play for the division at all. They've not really been in play for the division for quite some time at this point. So could be a situation where Green Bay rests their starters. I don't know. I will wait and see on that. It is the Bears, though. I'm not betting on the Bears at all. So we'll let that sleeping dog lie, I suppose. Caleb Williams, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. It's, the numbers aren't terrible. It's just, man, he could be so much better. He could be so much better. I'll just leave it at that. Texans at the Titans. Tennessee is favored by 1. Oof. Woof. The Texans stink. They are so bad. I mean, they have no motivation to play this game, I don't believe. Second place is the Colts right now, who can't have any remote chance of winning the division. To stay away from this game. This feels like a starter's resting game for the Texans, so stay away from that one. Jaguars are on the road at the Colts. Indy is favored by 5.5, and I do not trust either of these teams, so we move on. Bills at the Patriots. Buffalo favored by 3. Again, this is a resting of the starters situation, so I'm staying away from that one. You can't really get a good read in these games. Week 18, by and large, sucks. So, yeah, that's really all you need to know about it. Week 18, by and large, sucks. Eagles are hosting the Giants. They're a 3-point favorite. Another rest in the starters sort of situation. I don't believe the Eagles win the tiebreaker with the Lions, and if the Vikings win, they don't win the record sort of race there, so they don't have anything to play for. Again, could be a starters resting situation. We'll see if they run Saquon out there to go get the record. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see. Outside of that, I'm not betting on that Giants-Eagles game, by the way. That's That's a Giants team that's motivated to lose to get their draft position high and put themselves in the best position to get the number 1 overall pick. And that's an Eagles team that has no motivation to win because there's no benefit to winning at this point. There's no detraction from losing. It's just no matter what happens, nothing happens. Win or lose, nothing really happens to the playoff picture. They're pretty much well locked in there at the 2 seed. So, yeah, staying the hell away from that one. I have no idea. Yeah, just staying the hell away from that. Saints are at the Buccaneers. Buccaneers need this one bad, so they're favored by 13. 13's a whole lot of points, especially in a historically competitive rivalry, and I don't trust the Buccaneers on a week-to-week basis. If the best version of the Bucs show up, they're going to win by 40. It's just if the Hyde version, if the Hyde version shows up here, you're in trouble, and the Hyde version has shown up entirely too much under the tenure of Todd Bowles. Just a confusing amount that the Hyde version of the Jekyll and Hyde tandem has shown up for the Buccaneers. So lean to the Buccaneers at minus 13, but I don't love that line. Chiefs are at the Broncos. Broncos are favored by 9.5 because the Chiefs are resting everybody. So, yeah, Broncos need this game. They need to win it in order to get into the playoffs. Well, it really depends on what happens with the Bengals. If the Bengals lose, they don't need to do shit in this game. They're locked into that 7 seed if I'm not mistaken. But if the Bengals win this game, the Broncos are going to be showing up motivated because it's a win and you're in sort of scenario. It's a win or go home scenario if you're the Broncos going up against the Chiefs backups. You got to win those games. So lean to the Broncos right now at 9.5, but I would be a fool to bet on that game before watching the Bengals and Steelers play out. The absolute fool. That's a no bet on the show because you can't get an accurate read on it right now with the circumstances that we're going into the weekend with. Chargers are at the Raiders. Chargers are a minus 5.5 point favorite here on the road at the Raiders. I believe the Chargers are locked into a playoff spot at this point. Justin Herbert, 21 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. That's a 7.0 touchdown to interception ratio. Hey, say what you will. I mean, the offense has been an upgrade, if nothing else, over what they've been trotting out there. I mean, Greg Roman, it's not exactly a sophisticated passing offense, but it's a damn good one. When you got Justin Herbert, it's hard to be anything but damn good. And with the receivers they have, hey, maybe Greg Roman learned some things over the last couple of years being out of a job. So, hey, that's promising stuff there going forward. But, yeah, I mean, it's a divisional rival game. I would definitely lean towards the Broncos, but I don't know if the Chargers have a whole lot of motivation to play their starters in this one. I think they're pretty well locked into a playoff spot there. So I'm staying away from that. The one surefire thing that I'm betting on is whatever Brock Bowers' prop is, I'm taking it. Hey, that dude's a monster, a freak of nature. He's got 108 receptions, 1,144 yards, only 4 touchdowns because his quarterback play is terrible. But, fellas, I mean, he broke a record that was set by Mike Ditka. Do people realize that the record that he broke as a tight end and a reception getter was set by Mike fucking Ditka as a player? That's how good Brock Bowers has been. It's how fucking insane Mike Ditka was in his rookie year coming in. People forget Hall of Fame tight end before he was a Hall of Fame coach, and people should not forget that. Mike Ditka was a monster all around. But yeah, Brock Bowers, insane. Insanely young, too. I mean, he came out at the earliest possible moment coming out of college. So, just a special football player. Going to be an all-time great tight end when it's all said and done. But that's my bet. Whatever Brock Bowers, just take the over. Take the over. Bad quarterback play, good quarterback play, doesn't matter. Just take the over on whatever his prop happens to be. That's my stance on that. The Seahawks are at the Rams. Big game in this one, although I don't know if the Seahawks have anything to play for. No, I think the Rams clinched the division, so this is an utterly meaningless game in the final week of the regular season, if I'm not mistaken here on this one. So Seahawks favored by 3. I guess the lean is to the Seahawks. I don't know. The luster is kind of gone away from this game. I really need to check before I'm really just kind of talking all willy nilly here. Can I click on the game? Can I click on the game here? Yeah, we'll just go there. Is there any sort of storyline that I'm looking at here? No, it's fucking nothing. It's absolutely nothing. So yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that added context there, but we keep it moving. We just keep it moving from there. So yeah, lean to the Seahawks, staying away from that over-under. Not a lot of games to bet this week as far as NFL is concerned. Miami's favored by 1 against the Jets. Dolphins are starting Tyler Huntley, so just staying away from that game. Really not much to write home about in that one. Outside of that, the Niners are on the road at the Cardinals. The Niners are favored by 1. I guess lean to the 49ers, but these two teams are kind of like the Spider-Man meme right now, so I don't really know. I don't really know on that front. And then get all these shit-ass dirtbag games out of here. We got ourselves a stone cold banger. The Vikings are on the road at the Lions. Lions favored by 2.5. That home field advantage matters. That 52.5 point over. High. Very high, but I may end up taking it because it's a fun over. The last game of the regular season. The very last game of Week 18. You already heard me preview it. I'm obviously going with the Vikings in this one because a complete and utter lack of objectivity. But frankly, the Vikings are a better team right now. Their defense is healthier. Their offense is at the very least comparable. I think QB-wise, it's comparable. Run game-wise, they got us there. I mean, their offensive line is just a road-grading group. They're a really, really good offensive line. But they're close enough offensively and so much better defensively, at least the way I see it, that the Vikings should win this game. I think the Vikings are going to win. I think they're going to get the 1 seed. And then, hey, the NFC runs through Minneapolis at that point. That's the vision we're looking at. That's what I'm hoping for. We're not going to know until we get there, but it is a tantalizing and exciting opportunity that we find ourselves in. How blessed are we as a people to see a showdown, a heavyweight matchup, 2 top 5 teams in the league for my money, duking it out in order to get the 1 seed in the conference. It does not get any better than that, folks. I hope it lives up to the hype. I hope it's a close game to the very, very end. I just hope it goes the Vikings' way. So there we have it. I'm taking the Vikings. Give them to me. I want that 1 seed like I want air to breathe. I need it like I need air to breathe. And with that said, that's all for this episode. Boy, oh boy, I am giddy. I'm a little school child. I mean, just coming home on his birthday. If it's a school day and it's my birthday, I know I'm coming home to some goodies when I get home. That's how I'm feeling about this next Sunday. I'm just looking at it like just with predatory, lustful eyes at that Sunday night. Oh, buddy, we're in for a treat right now. But with that said, that's it for Week 17 and the Week 18 preview. That's all for this episode, really. I'm going to get this thing out there edited before Monday Night Football starts. I'm not going to finish before that starts. Let's just not kid ourselves there. But with that said, in the interest of getting out here as quickly and efficiently as possible, thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis here. We do this thing twice a week, at least during the football season. We got NFL on Tuesdays. We're going to be recapping some college football on Thursday, though we might push that episode to Friday because there's games going on that are fairly consequential on Wednesday when I usually record. So maybe we just push that thing to either Thursday night or Friday. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. That being said, I digress. Yeah, we do it twice a week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, generally speaking anyways, barring holidays and scheduling conflicts. I am your host, Caleb V. You can follow me on the Twitters at CalebVUA. That'll be down in the description. You can also hit me up at the email unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. Both of those are down in the description. Like, subscribe, rate, share, help me grow this thing so we can take this to new heights. Will you take me higher to a place where blind men can see? That's all I'm asking you to do here. So with that said, thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, I got no clue what I'm talking about. That being said, one thing I learned this week, the New York Let's start that over. One thing I learned this week in the New York Tribune, easy for me to say, good God, described Benito Mussolini as, quote, an exceptional type and a, quote, born leader after he took power in Italy. I'd say that perception changed over time, over the course of the next couple decades or so. Mussolini was in power for a long time. I'll tell you what. Can you tell I'm listening to a podcast on Benito Mussolini? Anywho, yeah, I'll see y'all on, call it Thursday or Friday. We'll play it by ear, but I'll see you then, folks. Talk to you then. I'm going to go edit this thing. Deuces.